We have challenge that we cannot deal with ourselves. People would like to have a quick answer. We have these huge investment cycles that we have as a presence and that has a future. And this is so satisfying, I have to say. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There's a spirit to move together as an industry, to be the solution.
Welcome to the Limak Cement Academy Studios. As the cement industry navigates one of its most transformative decades, conversations like this, grounded in science, innovation, and collaborations, are more vital than ever. And we are truly honored to host a very special guest today, which is why I personally wanted to lead this conversation. We are joined by Dr. Martin Schneider, CEO of VDZ, the German Cement Association. And I have had the pleasure of crossing paths with today's guest of numerous conferences, panels, and industry events. And every time, his energy and insights have been a source of inspiration, not only for me, but also for the global industrial community. So Dr. Schneider is visiting our Limak Cement Technology and Innovation Campus here in Ankara, where he met with our R&D teams to exchange ideas on decarbonization and climate technologies and the future of our industry. And given the importance of this visit, we saw a perfect opportunity to invite him into our studio and capture this timely dialogue. And I'm grateful he kindly accepted. So let me take a moment to sincerely thank him and say, Martin, welcome. We're thrilled to have you with us today. I hope your visit is going well. So how was your day in Limak Cement Technology and Innovation Campus?
It was fantastic. Thank you so much, Erkam, for having me here. It's a long time that I have been here in Ankara. The last time, so it's 15 years ago. So It was a nice experience to come here again. And of course, it was an excellent experience to get to know you and your team today. It's that we have met 2 or 3 times this year at different locations around the world. So it's really fantastic. And thanks for the invitation to come here. We have experienced a great hospitality, and it was really nice to talk to your team this morning. Thank you so much for this.
Martin, before stepping into the role of global CEO, actually, I was the director of R&D at Limak Cement. And honestly, I still carry that scientific interest with me every single day. And over the past 2 years, I have been amazed by what we have been able to do in our campus here, from exploring green hydrogen and advancing our XRD and analytical chemistry capabilities for SCM development to building 3D printing technologies that merge coding skills with architectural creativity. I get so fascinated by all of this that I almost forget there are global crises happening around us. So yes, everyone talks about the costs of decarbonization, and rightly so. But my first question is, isn't it just thrilling to see how science is now energizing our industry in ways we have never experienced before? And the second question is, don't you feel this whole climate technology journey has actually unleashed a kind of innovation momentum we didn't know we had?
That's a very good question. Of course, the question has different elements, but maybe to start with, Erkam, I'm a physicist by profession, and I'm working in the sector in VDZ since 1991. And being a scientist myself, I've followed the development in our sector not only from a cement industry point of view, but also from a scientific point of view.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see over the years how the topics have changed.
Right.
Many of the topics kept to be scientific challenges. And you can really feel that the many people that are joining our industry or have joined our industry, they have a great interest in accelerating our industry or guiding our industry or being part of this solution to a decarbonized cement and concrete value chain. And that's fantastic to see. And of course, it also has another aspect, an aspect from a cement industry point of view. I think we have to really decarbonize, and we know how challenging that really is. And there is no simple solution to this. Yeah. But the solutions are, of course, based on science and technology, and on, the willingness of the industry to move forward. And this is what I can really feel. You feel in the short time that the industry would like to be a part of a bigger solution. And that's a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. Martin, on the other hand, at Limak Cement, we have been working in close collaboration with all relevant public institutions and stakeholders here in Turkey for the past 3 years. And just this month, we are celebrating the passing of our national climate law, and the supporting regulations on the details of ETS and carbon markets will be come after. It's taken us for 4 years of consistent effort to reach this point, and every year we have shared our short and long-term science-based roadmaps publicly and transparently, and we are proud to be one of the first 10 companies in Turkey to receive SBTi validation. And actually our mindset as Limak Cement has always been clear: don't wait for perfect conditions, manage expectations, start early, keep experimenting and scale what works. So, but here is the challenge. In much of the cement industry, in different locations, there is still a tendency to see transformation as just installing solar panels or adding calcined clay lines, and only when regulation forces it. The question is real transformation really that simple? And what is transformation actually? Is it just a checklist of technologies, or is there a fundamental shift in how we think, how we plan, and how we lead?
That's a very good question. I think there is two answers to this. That's the answer from the outside view and the answer from the inside view. I think we have to accept that for the first time in the history of our industry, we have a challenge that we cannot deal with ourselves. We need to partner up with the industry as such. We have to partner up with our stakeholders, with the value chain, with the public, the general public, and with the authorities. And we need framework conditions to make this transformation happening.
Yeah.
This is unique. In earlier times, when we had to install a filter, a dust filter, we could do this. We went to an equipment supplier, maybe we further developed the design of the filter, but in principle, we could do this ourselves. This is different now. And we have a completely different setting. For example, when we talked this morning about the measures to reduce the clinker factor and what this means for your cements and what it means for the market.
Right.
If the market is not accepting this, I mean, you can produce as much cement with a low clinker factor as you want. You have a difficulty to put these cements on the market. So there must be a scheme in the standards, in the procurement systems, for example, to accept that greener cements are on the market and that they are part of procurement system, for example. And we call this the lead market.
That we are doing under GCCA.
For example, and of course there are in your country it's a different approach than in my country, but it's all similar, and the similarity is that we need this kind of cooperation along the value chain, and we also need this cooperation with the procurement officers and so on to make this transformation. Now, the inside view is, of course, my feeling is that it's and we talked about the roadmaps. There are many elements. Yeah, and many of these elements have to be further developed, although we know how to do this, but it's like a big jigsaw puzzle. I mean, all the bits and pieces have to go together. And sometimes it's, of course, for us difficult to explain it to the outside world. If you talk about clinker factor in the general public, you cannot just use the term clinker factor, you have to explain it. And explanations in those days are sometimes too long, because in a fast-moving information system, world, people would like to have a quick answer. And that brings me to the outside view. The outside view, of course, is you green the industry. Why don't you just building solar panels, and why don't you just electrify your kilns and things like this? The detail, of course, is much more complicated. I mean, we have process emissions, for example. We have these huge investment cycles that we have. It's completely different from what we feel. So there's always this I wouldn't call it a mismatch, but of course, for good reasons, there is an outside view and an inside view.
Yeah.
Now, our role is to reconciliate this, to make sure that we tell the story, that we tell it in a way that people understand, and that they, at the end, not only understand, but are willing to join us on this journey. When it comes to houses, when it comes to infrastructure, that always there is a feeling there's an industry behind, that industry really wants to green its value chain, and that means that we have also to understand what are the framework conditions under which such an industry can really fully decarbonize. And it's not only with solar panels, it's much more. And this understanding, I think, is needed. And it's on us to tell the right story and to build up the right narrative.
I think organizations like VDZ play such pivotal role. You have long served as a kind of technical backbone for the cement industry, but not just in Germany, but across Europe. So first, how do you see VDZ's mission evolving today, especially in helping companies and ecosystem navigate the complexity of new technologies like CCUS, hydrogen, or digital twins, also keeping the scientific rigor intact? And on the other hand, that's question one to keep in our mind. And secondly, true transformation requires a broader ecosystem where industry, academia, and civil society co-create solutions instead of working in silos. So secondly, how do you see the role of other international alliances like ECRA, Sambiro, or GCCA in accelerating knowledge sharing and scaling best practices? And how is VDZ contributing to that collaborative fabric?
There are two elements in this
evolving
question.
of VDZ role and then...
An association is something very special. You're dealing with an industry, you are part of the industry, and you have members which you work with. And of course, these members, they are part of the sector is moving, and at the same time, there are competitors in the market. And that was, for me, always very, very, very nice atmosphere, because I always felt being supported by my members at VDZ, but when it comes now to ECRA, the European Cement Research Academy, it's the same. And I still have my dream job, I have to say. As I said before, I'm with VDZ since 1991, so more than 30 years. It's a fantastic industry. And the reason is the industry is, imagine the world without cement and concrete. How would it look like? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I have the deep understanding of our industry being so valuable to the world. And this is, of course, a very satisfying job that I have. And the idea, of course, is to help the industry to develop, and at the same time to make sure that the framework conditions for our industry to produce, put products on the market, to attract people, that these framework conditions are good. And this is where we try to work along the value chain with policymakers and so on. And this is so satisfying, I have to say, especially VDZ, and it's very similar to the Turkish Cement Association. We have a long tradition, we have a lot of pride in what our ancestors did. And of course, there's a responsibility for us today to convey this into the future. We are not working for ourselves in a vacuum. We are working for a value chain that has a history, that has a presence, and that has a future. And that is so enriching, this kind of feeling, this responsibility at one hand side, but at the other side also being supported by the industry in going this way. And I have always had the support by our members to develop the association for the sake of the industry and looking into the future for the industry. And of course, an association has to work in a pre-competitive manner. And at a certain time, and we talked yesterday at the dinner table, we talked about the oxy-fuel kiln for fully decarbonizing with carbon capture. And we developed this within ECRA. And at a certain time, that was not pre-competitive anymore. And now it's in the competitive area. And this is now for the industry, for the equipment suppliers to further develop it and to take advantage of this. And that is fantastic. So it's, and this is the, let's call it the technical thing. The other thing is, and that is the second part of your question, is the fact that an association is also a binder. And we all know as cement producers what a binder means. It puts people together. And it's for me, it's fascinating. And it's like, and it's a great narrative. Cement as a binder. We know that cement binds together sand and gravel to form concrete. But cement is also a binder for people. We would not be sitting here if we wouldn't speak the same language in your company, in my association. It's the same language because we have the same product, slight differences from country to country depending on the raw materials and the SCMs. But in principle, it's the same production process everywhere in the world. This is unique. And we all speak the same language, we all share the same thoughts about our processes, and we also share the same vision about our industry to, at a final stage, to decarbonize. Again, the circumstances are different from region to region for very good reasons. And this is where the role of the association comes in. Well, GCCA, you mentioned this, or ECRA as a technical platform, or the VDZ as a national one, the Turkish Cement Association. They have to bind the industry together in a positive sense, feeling that they all have the feeling that they are not alone.
Yeah.
Because in this time of changes, the big changes, they can be frightening. And an association, I think, can support an industry to move, even if, as I said before, even if the companies are competing on the market. But I have felt always the strong willingness of the industry when it comes to the fundamental orientation of the industry towards sustainability, towards lower emissions, and now to full decarbonization. There's a spirit to move together as an industry, to be the solution in this along the value chain. And this is where the associations play an important role. And if
absolutely.
they fill this gap, the industry can really move as a whole.
Martin, on the other hand, at Limak Cement, we are deeply involved in multiple sectoral platforms from GCCA to Türkçimento to Turkish Cement Employers Association and Cement Exporters Assembly. And from expert level working groups to CEO level governance boards, our teams are fully committed and active. And in particular, Turkish Cemento has been continuously evolving, and it's clear that the organization is fully aware of the critical role it needs to play during this transformation period. But the association is also trying to evolve to be more stronger, more proactive, and more globally engaged institution for the future of Turkish cement industry. And since VDZ has long to play a pivotal role on that base, what would be your advice for Türkçimento as it aims to evolve into a similar force in Turkey?
That's a very good question. My perception is, seen from VDZ, looking at the Turkish Cement Association, it's a strong association. There's a strong glue in the Turkish cement industry, and this is the basic. And the rest will naturally develop. And I think it's not the association, it's more the role of the members to empower the association. It gives it's to give sufficient guidance, but at the same time to give sufficient flexibility to anticipate what comes next for the industry. And of course we have the global issues, but everything is broken down on a national level. You have your national laws, you have your national politics, you have your national market situations, you have your national SCM situation. It's completely, you cannot just transfer one country to the other and thinking that they're the same framework. It's not the case. There's an overarching principle for our industry. And I think this is where an association like yours can play a fundamental role. And it's then naturally developing if it's supported by the industry. If the industry follows the great lines, then an association it's a push and pull. I think the role of an association is also that as members of the association, you should always expect the association to pull you in a way, of course, that is guided by the industry. But at the end, I think an association's role should also be to look into the future, because they are more independent of the daily business than you and your company. So that is. I'm not sure it's an advice, because it's not on me to advise in this context, because I think it's going well. But that was my experience in VDZ. I had always strong support from my presidents, from my board, and they let me develop the VDZ. And if you achieve as an association that your own members are proud of their association, I think then most of the work is done. And I know that your members are proud of the Turkish Cement Association.
I'm about to ask the most important question, at least from the perspective of Limak Cement. From your experience, what kind of mindset and capabilities will be the next generation of cement professionals need, especially in areas like data science, chemistry, systems thinking, and even cross-disciplinary collaboration? And looking beyond the technology, how can industrial companies reshape their approach to human resources, organizational culture, and talent developments to emerge stronger from this transformation journey?
It's also a very good question. I think for many, many years, our industry has been able to attract people with different professions. We have mining engineers, we have geologists, we have mechanical engineers, we have civil engineers, we have financial people, accounting people, I mean, you name it. We have always been able to, because it's a complex process, cement making, clinker making, cement making, marketing people. So we have always been able to attract these people. With this transformation, of course, there are new skills to come that we need. It's artificial intelligence. It's the complete digitization. It's not only the artificial one, it's only the digitalization, the basics. Right. Yeah, it's new materials. It is the dealing with CO2 in huge amounts at different phases, gas phase, dense phase, liquid phase. So there's a lot. But these are all professions which are available. So it's the question, how can we attract those people to our industry? And I think that has to do with leadership. So the question is how the leaders in the industry, and that starts with a CEO like you. So how can you talk to your people? How can you excite your people? How can you make them hungry? That has to play, I think, a much, much bigger role in the time to come. And it is not only in our sector. I think in this fast-changing world, leadership has a complete different meaning in the time to come. And leadership has to do with values. The question is, what are the values of your company? What are the values of the value chain? Mm-hmm. And when you talk to people, what are your values? And I've really worked a long time on this to understand what are values. And from this, by the way, we developed our value system for VDZ, and everybody from the 200 people in VDZ knows our values, and we can cast them into 5 categories. But the most important thing is you have to live up to the values. And this is, and I experienced you, and I mean many times now, and today, and yesterday, and the way you deal with the people, open-minded, listening, appreciating, letting them take the stage. Yeah, so this is all, I think, how leadership will further develop. I'm not afraid that we will not be able to attract people, because the opportunities to build a better world, I think, the biggest in our sector. The lever that we have in order to contribute to the well-being of the society with our product, with the decarbonization of our processes, is fantastic. Yeah. And if you tell this narrative, and I think you have made the experience and I made the experience, if you tell the narrative like this, you will be amazed how people are willing to join, because they would like to be, there's a higher purpose. Many of the young people, they would like to work under a higher purpose. And if you achieve this, it's not the question how skilled they are. The people, of course, they need a basic understanding in the different categories that we are looking for, but most of it can be learned during the process. The thing is, how excited are we? Yeah, how can we make the people excited? How can we... this is the overall picture. I found it not too complicated, to be honest, if you have some basic principles. And one of the main things in today's world, where at least in our country, where things are so demanding, for the young families, for example, in a fast-moving world, with maybe 2 people working. And the family, for me, in our fragmented world, is still the most important nucleus of togetherness. If the family is okay, companies are okay, the regions, the municipalities, the cities, the countries, the cultures are supported. Yeah. So my biggest impact is my view on VDZ now is, make sure that the families are kept supported. Yeah. It sounds very strange in a business environment, but honestly, if this nucleus is working well, and then these people will do everything for you. They will go with you the last mile and even beyond. Yeah,
I fully agree with you. For me, it's not strange, because we always say that everything starts with culture and trust.
Yes.
So
yes.
This is why it starts with family. And even I mostly attend DX, digital transformation events, and we are discussing all over the world every technology in details. But at the end, we say the truth. 80% of digital transformation is culture.
Yes.
But this is the reality. 80%. So only the remaining 20% is technology deployment. So thanks that I fully agree with you, and I fully agree with the family approach. And the transformation starts with culture. Okay, Martin, now, of course, none of this transformation can happen without access to financing. Also, you mentioned that aligns with sustainability goals, and the financial world is now watching our sector through a very different lens. We have already aligned our goals with ESG-linked instruments and performance-based indicators. How do you see the role of green finance evolving in the cement sector? Is it becoming a competitive advantage for companies that move early, or is it still seen as a reporting burden?
It's also a very good question. I think financing will become greener and greener in the time to come, and that has to do with everything becoming greener or decarbonized or whatever, because this is the role that we have as a society as whole, I mean, the whole society in all its aspects, and financing is a part of it. We are decarbonizing our value streams, the value chain, and of course financing must make sure that the green aspects have a growing dominance.
Yeah, and it should be for just transition.
Yeah, so that is nothing that is. And that was clear from your question. It's nothing that is frightening. It's nothing that is new. It's just a natural development. The thing that we realize in these days, of course, is I think we have to differentiate on a global scale. I think we have to make sure that this transition needs to be financed. And when I mean the transition is, if we were all fully decarbonized already, then of course we have a new steady state. Of course, the specific capex is higher for a ton of clinker.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much higher for cement, because we have a lower clinker factor and things like this.
Yeah.
But in this transition, we really need to make sure that this transformation of the sector can happen in many places. In my part of the world, it's the de-risking of the first investment. It's a chicken and egg question. Are we gonna build a capture unit before we have the pipeline? Is the pipeline gonna be built before there's a capture unit? This needs to be kind of de-risked. In principle, this is a typical de-risking which is done in many networks. I have a broader view on the global development. I think we have to, as a society on a global scale, to move also in our sector. And this, I think, needs more support also from the financial market, in the sense that we get this transformation running also in markets where it's more difficult to get the added value in the product back from the market. So that is, I think, that is what we need. And therefore maybe we need indeed the book and claim system, which of course is a little bit beyond our perception today, but to make sure that when we start decarbonizing a plant, because it's unique in its position, it's close to a CO2 sink, it has access to renewable energy or things like this, but the markets are not mature yet for very good reasons, so that we can maybe transfer virtually the decarbonization effort to where the product is sold. So I have a strong belief in this. It's not easy to develop this, but I would really be keen to see this as a tool to make financing easier across the country.
And on the other hand, new sustainability reporting system, I think it's other key components to explain or to share the whole picture from all disciplines. So now in our companies also we are preparing our risk analysis and to preparations for our sustainability reporting framework. And isn't it also so helpful, especially to showcase the financial people, the real risks in terms of environment, but together with financial risk?
Yes, this is true. Sometimes, to be honest, I wonder what are the real key indicators to be reported. And if I look at the European legislation here on sustainability reporting, I wonder if that's the right approach. if it's exaggerating, as you correctly said, these are messages to the financial market, for example.
Right.
But if you cannot read the indicators because there are too many, they are maybe contradicting.
Yeah,
Some
sure.
of them are not. So I wonder whether we should not go back to easier reporting schemes. And I know that companies themselves, they have internal reporting schemes. And so...
But we are trying and developing. Now our sustainability experts and financial experts now, maybe for the first time on that detail, are working for 2 years to prepare this framework for this reporting system.
And this is I can only encourage you in developing these tools. They are valuable tools, and you have to tailor-make them for the very purpose and not for...
sure.
And this is sometimes from these sustainability reporting schemes from the outside, at least in Europe, I can feel this. If it's too much, then people lose interest in developing them correctly and reading them correctly. Yeah. So, and then it's basically for the drawer, and that is not what we need. We need something really that helps ourselves and the external world.
So, on the other hand, many global players have been published their 2030 and 50 roadmaps. Nowadays in EU, 2040 roadmaps are very solid. And according to Sembiro's last update this year, 2030 target has been tightened to 399 kilograms. And with around 83 kilograms of that reduction expected to come from CCUS. On the other hand, in the EU, also leading producers are now aiming for carbon intensities between 4 to 500 kilograms by 2030. As Limak Cement also, we update our target for 409 kilograms in 2030, and we are expect to start our solid projects in CCUS basically after 2030. That brings me to my question for you. You are involved in so many climate discussions across the EU and globally. And what's your take on the actual speed of implementation? So do you see real acceleration happening, or are we still stuck in policy loops and fragmented ecosystems?
This is again a very good question. And I think we can see or we can feel something that we have also felt in other big changes in our societies. And I think there's a start that was, let's call it even in our end, it was full of excitement, although a lot of uncertainty how that will develop, but excitement at a certain time, because our industry really would like to be part of a bigger solution. They would like to decarbonize their processes and the full value chain. So that was this kind of excitement. And of course, in such a complex transformation, which is depending on so many variables, which you don't know at this time and which you have to anticipate, it is very clear that there's a kind of, let's call it reconsolidation to what can be achieved today and not only in the long term. And then we realize that the framework conditions, they also struggle with the complexity. Where do we get the CO2, the carbon sinks? Yeah, where do we get the renewable energy from to the amount and in the speed that we need it? Of course, it will come, but we need them in a time that fits to our roadmaps. And this is it where some people in our industry feel a little bit disappointed because they have started fast and now they see that, where in which direction to go. And I can only say we have to overcome this. We have to talk to the value chain, we have to talk to the policymaker, and we should not be afraid of continuing this journey because there's no alternative. We can discuss on the speed, of course, but there's no alternative. So I think I would like to convey this excitement because the technical things are there. And I have always emphasized that if you look at your roadmap and the elements are similar like the others because it's the same process, the same value chain, we should not start to work on a few of them and then forget the other elements and say that will come later. And you do it correct, you do it right, because like many others, you start to work on them in parallel because they're all not easy. You wait till you have achieved the low-hanging fruits and then start with the more difficult ones, we will not comply with the target dates.
Okay, as the last question regarding green industrial bridge, today as the cement and heavy industry sectors navigate the defining transition of our era, and we believe the time has come to transform maybe the EU-Turkey dialogue from ambition to action. And now, nowhere is this transformation more urgent in building a green industrial bridge, a bold and cooperative infrastructure vision built maybe on 3 pillars as a recommendation: green hydrogen connectivity, power-to-X integration, or carbon management infrastructure. What we are calling for is not a political negotiation, but rather a technical alignment, I believe. A new operating system for climate cooperation based on real infrastructure, real investment, and real industrial commitment. In your view, what are the most critical enablers and bottlenecks, honestly, for making this kind of transnational industrial collaboration a reality, particularly in the context of EU and Turkey relations? Good question, I think.
Very good one. And I think there can be many aspects to this question. But at the end, I think it all depends on the people trusting each other. If we trust each other, you in Turkey, me in Düsseldorf in Germany, and we have the same mindset in developing our industry, although I'm from an association, you are from a company, this is helpful. So we have to bring the people together, that there is a common mindset, a common understanding, and that maybe it could be a very well contribution to this fragmented world. I think we have to find elements, and technical issues are, in my understanding, sometimes easier than the political ones.
Absolutely.
To bring the people together. So maybe we can the bottom-up approach to say so. Yeah. And the topics that you have been raising here, of course, are the right ones, and you could easily add some more that fill in underneath. Yeah. So it's so important that we are sitting here and having the same common understanding of the challenges that we have as a sector, and that brings people together.
Do you believe that hard to debate sector associations can play a role to make this dream reality, to this collaboration reality? Or what we can do as private sector and associations?
Maybe I can bring again the narrative of cement being a good binder. And this is for me, we are talking all the same language. The two of us, we talk the same technical language. Why? Right. It's the same raw material, it's the same process, it's the same product, it's the same value chain. With differences, of course, which are site-specific, country-specific, but basically, and this is unique. I think there are few materials in the world which are so unique in this kind of... So let's take this as a narrative to form this togetherness across the many cultures. And this is, and again, I've been using this phrase of a fragmented world many times. So maybe we can see in our product something that has a much higher purpose than only being a construction material or glue for sand and gravel. So maybe that is still my dream, and you wouldn't see me in such an optimistic manner here if I were not to believe in this kind of narrative. This is what keeps me going to work every day, because there's some more in our value chain, in our material, than just being construction material. There's a higher purpose behind it. So that's a little bit pathetic. Apologies for this, but I have learned that it supports me in my daily work. To have this kind of higher purpose. So Martin, it was really a fascinating conversation. We sincerely thank you for visiting Limak Cement Innovation and Technology Campus, and for the inspiring exchange we had at the Limak Cement Academy. Thank you so much. With great pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me here. Thank you.